Now,
Now,
for space
space
planning
planning and move management,
we'll be looking at it. Look at the need for space planning. We look at space planning process. We look at the space allocation options. Now, by way of introduction, space planning is something that we'll look at generally to be able to organize a space and see how it is used. The way a space is planned always determines its use and its purpose.
Hello.
Hi, good afternoon.
Okay,
Hello,
so okay, great. I thought you couldn't hear me.
I couldn't hear you for a while.
Okay, sorry. Like I was trying to say that the way space is configured, the way space looks, determines the use of that space. Now, if you go into a restaurant, for example, it's very likely that even if that place is not furnished, you know it's a restaurant. If you go into a banquet hall, for example, also, you know it is a banquet hall, even without it being furnished or the activities being happening there. If you go into a church hall, it's very likely for you to know that that's a church hall. If you go into a building, maybe you want to rent an apartment, and the agent takes you into the building and into the space, it's very likely before the agent even tells you the use of each spaces, you most likely will be able to identify where the living room is, where the toilets are, where the kitchenette is, and other spaces. Why do you do this? It's because of the way the spaces are configured. Once you get into the kitchen, nobody needs to tell you that that space is a kitchen. Most often than not, you know, oh, this is the kitchen, and then you know if you go into the toilet, you know it's the toilet. Because of the way the space is configured, the arrangement of the spaces, the arrangement of the general ambience of that space makes it easy for you to know exactly the way the space is. And for a facility manager, it is important for the facility manager to know how a space is, because it helps the facility manager to adequately manage that space. Because if the facility manager does not know the use of any space, it becomes extremely difficult for the facility manager to manage the space, because the facility manager is as good as not knowing exactly what happens in that space. And for most buildings, it's always important for the facility, whether you are in the building industry or not. It's always important for you to know the use of the space. In most of our new generation offices, flexibility is becoming a key requirement as organizations are continuously changing the way they work. good enough. The COVID-19 has made a lot of workspaces now quite flexible because probably before now, some offices that would never had allowed their staffs to work from home or work remotely had to be forced to do that. For offices that are already doing that during the COVID-19 lockdown and the general, even till now, it was a lot easier for them to adapt because they had already started working that way. So it wasn't a big deal. But for they have not been working in that format, it was a lot difficult for them to manage. Facility managers needs to become familiar with the way the organization is moving and then ask him or herself the following questions a facility manager must ask regularly, especially wherever you work. Is this present space well utilized? Do we reduce or increase the amount of space being used? Normally, from time to time, the facility manager is supposed to be a very good friend with the admin manager of the company to have the record and have the head count of staffs that are available so that the facility manager will know exactly the use of the space and how it works. It is very important for the facility manager to ask himself these questions because it's very important for the facility manager to be on top of his game at all times so that the facility manager will be able to be relevant in the organization from time to time. Because if the facility manager is not relevant, it becomes one of the first casualty when they are downsizing in offices. The next question is it possible to renegotiate our current lease in terms of pricing or other agreements? Sometimes if you for the facility manager, whether you were there, you have been in the company for a long time or you are just coming, one of the things you must first of all ask or know is the lease agreement. That's if the property that you're using for the office doesn't belong to the office. If the property is leased, it's always good to know what the lease agreement is and see how it is structured. And most of the time, there's a clause that for facility managers that should always put in their lease agreement. That clause should be that you should be able to sublease, the sublease clause, so that it gives you the right to be able to sublease the space when it becomes too big for you or for you to run in your business. Another thing that the facility manager needs to ask himself, is the space still meeting the business needs and the development of the organization? Sometimes you look at the space and the way it's configured, the way it is, the location and all that, and see if it still meets the requirements of the business. Then you find out, you ask yourself another question: does the location befit the needs of the business? Does the location of the office space now, does it meet the present, does it befit the present status of the business? It is possible for you to have started a business in somewhere like Ajegule, and as the business is growing, and as you begin to expand the business, you may come to realize that, this location, yes, is good for it, has been good for a while. We may need to change location. Sometimes your main people that you may attend to, if it's somewhere around that at Jigule, you will need to leave your business there and allow it grow. But if it's outside there, except if you are changing your business focus, then you need to relocate the business, the office of and how you work with the business. The need for space planning. We shall be considering the need for space planning under the following headings. Look at the legislation and standard, look at churn rates, look at space utilization and accommodation standards. Looking at legislation standards generally are the basic requirements and the legislatives that are standard for office spaces and how it works. You look at the minimum amount of space required per staff member. There are standards to these things. I think for a staff member from general I think it's about 3 square meters per person, including circulation space for a general open space area. And that's the minimum requirement for every staff member. And then you look at the arrangement in terms of the fire safety arrangement. You look at the building, how it's configured, how the office, or if there's any form of issue in terms of an emergency, how they'll be able to run and save the people in the building so that you don't have a lot of casualties. Normally, by request standard, from wherever you are in a building, you should be able to get to the fire exit door within a minute when there is an alarm, such that in 1 minute, you should be able to get 60 seconds, you should be able to get to the nearest exit of the building. You should be able to get to the nearest exit of the building. It's very important for us to always have that standard and know about it. The lighting levels is also very important. The lumens requirement, the minimum for a good office space is normally 400 lumens, depending on, most of these are bulbs, they have that, but you require a number to be able to brighten up the office space to the minimum standard of 400 lumens. That's the one that can help you to ensure that people are working well. If the lights are not bright enough, people will sleep while they're at the office. But when they are bright enough, it helps to make them awake. Then the signages for the office spaces, directional signs, how people should move in case there's an emergency. The directional signs are always very important to note and to know how that works out. The directional signs help you and indicate the different points of where the buildings are. Sometimes in some offices, you need to also label the rooms so that when somebody is just coming for the first time, the person can easily navigate through the building, navigate through the spaces, knows where the offices are. This is the MD's office, this is the cashier's office, this is the account, this is admin, and all that. It helps for easy movement and also where the conveniences, the toilet facilities are. Ventilation has to do with movement of air around the building so that when humans are there, they can easily breathe and it will not be uncomfortable for them. Good air circulation and how they manage the air quality within the space. Most office spaces these days do a lot of artificial ventilation. That is the use of air conditioner systems to help to do two things. One, improve the quality of air and also the temperature. The next one is temperature thermal control, the temperature control to ensure that the office is not too hot. At least it's cool enough for you to work. If you have ever by any chance worked in an office where the AC is not working and there is so much heat, I'm telling you, spend so much time trying to get yourself cool instead of concentrating on the work that you're supposed to be doing. And that in itself, it's actually a big issue. That's why cooling is very important in office space, thermal control. And also, if you are working in a space where they use the central cooling system and then the cooling high, it is also very uncomfortable. You need cardigans or sweaters to keep yourself warm. Instead of you concentrating in doing your work, you spend that time actually trying to get yourself warm so that you can concentrate on work. So whichever extremes that you have, when it's too hot or when it's too cold, is not the best experience for a building. Then the next one is a welfare arrangement. Welfare arrangement has to do with the conveniences, the toilet settings, and the toilet provisions, and then also the kitchenette, the food. If you have ever, sometimes when you go into office spaces, most people do not know that the toilet facilities is very important. No matter how few, it's very important to have it until you have the call of nature. That is where you know how important the toilet is. I don't know if any one of us have ever been traveling on the express or probably traveled to a long distance and nature calls and you're in the public transport. I'm telling you, that's when you will know that those people that uses the bushes, they're not mentally derailed. Because as at that time, you'll be looking for any bush to help yourself so that you can make yourself easy. Because once that pressure comes for you to attend to the call of nature, my dear, bushes become very lovely. You will love them. You will see yourself loving the bushes because of the call of nature. It is after you have answered that call that you now your senses will return, and then you'll be able to continue the journey as it should. So that's the importance of having convenience in an office building. It's very important. And also, catering facilities where you need to provide for food, where they need to eat, is very important. For every office to have like a small kitchenette, no matter how small, to be able to make tea or coffee from time to time, take water, because you're going to be in the office for a minimum of 8 hours, and then you need that level of convenience. The next thing we'll be looking at is the churn rate. Churn rate looks at the frequency of staff movement in an organization. That is actually churn rate. And you normally, for churn, there are two ways it happens. It happens vertically and horizontally. Vertically is when you are growing in the ladder. Once people are being promoted, if they are promoted a lot in the organization, they move levels, they change responsibilities. It also helps. Some people will move decks. Because responsibility is changing, they will move from one department to the other, or move a ranking and a rating. So they may need to move the way their offices are configured. Or you have a situation where you have the company having a lot of high turnovers within a year. You have a lot of staff leaving the company. That's when it's happening horizontally. In that situation, for you as a facility manager, you need to always do a head count. At the beginning of the year, you know how many staff is in, and then towards the end of the year, you also have that count. It helps you to be able to know the churn rate. And knowing the churn rate as a facility manager helps you to plan. You know if the company is actually growing or is shrinking. And if the company is growing, you'll be able to advise management to get additional space. And if the company is shrinking, you will also be able to advise management to say, oh, this space is becoming too large for us. We need to get a better space. Space utilization is a measure of how space is being used. Most of the times, you must always know how the space is being used from time to time, taking the measurement of the number of staffs that are in that space, or rather in the office, compared to the utilization of the office itself, to check whether you look at the total square meters or square area of the office, you know how to manage that. The utilization rate is a function of a frequency rate and an current occupancy rate. When you look at the number of persons that are in the office per time, and these days that you have that we can actually work from home or work from remotely, or do some of these things remotely, like this training that we're having, that some persons are in their different offices. They will be at this Max-Migold center. Probably before now, Max-Migold in the center would have booked, normally use the conference room or use the training halls for this training. And not everybody can make it to the venue. So you could actually do this remotely. Because not everybody can make it to the venue, maybe this class is about 40 persons in class or 50 persons in class. Instead of making provision for a large hall for 50 people, you just make provision for maybe 10 persons that will be on site. That will be probably at the hall to receive the class, and then the other persons can connect online. It makes it a lot easier. As a facility manager, you must understand this and know, okay, the trend at which the company is going, the way things are working around in a company, so far so good for over the past few years. This is what has been happening. It helps you to take such decisions so that you know exactly how the space is being utilized, and also advise management to say, oh, the occupancy rate of this office is low. We may need to get a smaller space, or the occupancy rate is high. We may need to get a larger space to be able to manage that. Accommodation standards. Accommodation often have a policy on its minimum standard for accommodation is staff grade. Normally, I've mentioned that generally for open offices, we have a 3 square meters per individual. I think for closed office, it's about 12 square meters or thereabout for the standard minimum required standard. Admin staffs, and sometimes some offices and the way people work in large organizations where you have a lot of departments, you discover that even if you have open spaces, you do not plan the admin office along with, let's say, operations. It's going to be a misfit. The work they're doing is totally different. You need to sectionalize your admin office separately. The admin space will definitely be different from the operations. And probably HR, HR and accounts. You know, a lot of them have, because they deal with a lot of private documents, so they need to have their own confined spaces to be able to work and those things. So you can't put them just in the open areas. And managers sometimes, some level of managers can work in the open areas, while some have to have their own private offices. Admin staffs may work in open plan offices sometimes, but not all the time. Managers may have individual offices. Size will depend on the seniority basis. That's that. And also, if you look at the business needs, office layouts design should provide an environment suitable for the business needs of this organization. For example, call centers undertake their business on screen. For call centers, they take calls most of the times. I remember in those days where the telecoms used to operate their call centers by themselves before they started giving it out to third parties or contracting it out. They call centers where people will go, and from morning till evening, and the shift that you do, you just sit down on your system and be receiving calls. That's your work, nothing more. So you don't need more very heavy space. You just need a desk and a chair, and you just sit down and do that. It requires small desk areas per staff members, minimal documentation. They don't do much of documentation, so they don't need that. And they have limited requirement for photocopies, facility, and printing. That's for call centers. In contracts, company handle paper-based documentation, require large decks, especially for engineering departments. For those of us that are engineers, if you work in an engineering office, you discover that your desks are normally larger, except for these days where we do most of the work in laptops. On the laptop, those days, if you go into engineering offices, or you discover they have very large tables so that they'll be able to manage drawings and read drawings. They look at they even have drawing rooms where you just go in and you just see very large decks with then sketching stools where you just sit down and do your drawings so that you'll be able to do your planning and all that. And they normally have what we call mapping tables. For engineering office, they have mapping tables where they spread very large drawings and look at it. But these days, technology has advanced to help everybody probably work on their systems. And sometimes what they even do now, they have larger screens, especially for IT groups. You see them having like 2-3 screens on their decks to be able to monitor the work they do. And also for what's it called, those in stock exchange, for them to monitor several currencies. They have several screens on the table. Just because of the work they do, they determine the kind of table spaces they use, and storage records, archiving facilities, photocopy and printing facilities. So that they'll be able to manage their work and work effectively. Staff welfare facilities is also very important. I mentioned the office requires access to basic welfare facilities in an office, such as toilets and drinking water. It's very important that I want to overemphasize that considerations may also be given for vendors for vending and catering. Vending, there's this machine called vending machine where you just slot in your cash and you get your snack, or probably make provision where people can buy snack. And a place where staffs can take a drink or take a break from their desks. Normally, you have breakout rooms in large office spaces. Services. Each desk in an office may require a telephone and a computer. These days, telephone desk is not always very important because you have your mobile phones now. In those days, we don't have so much of the mobile phones. We just have the desk phones where once you call into the general office, you use your extensions. I'm not sure people use extensions anymore in the offices. You just have a direct line on your mobile phone, or you have your CUG. For large offices, they could use power poles for data cable maybe run to under their desks. Another alternative in smaller offices, the use of the door trunkings around the walls, and sometimes other alternatives are to use ceiling power poles. These assist in spaces for to enable power get to the different. If you look at this picture on the side, it's power poles there where you can just run your power from on top of the ceiling down to the different decks for everybody to connect as required. Partitions. Office partition. Open plan offices are often divided into smaller offices for managers, meeting rooms, etc. The following factors should be taken into account. One, the heat or cooling zone and ventilation. If you are doing office partitioning, looking the position of the air conditioning system, especially for general open spaces, normally will help us to of the office so that you'll be able to have good ventilation coming in. Also, you look at the lighting and the light switches and emergency lighting. Of course, you need to ensure that the lighting of each of the offices are properly done. Look at the voice and data cabling. Look at the fire alarm and fire escape routes, the noise and acoustic levels for each of the space. In advance, finding the right new office space for your business takes time. This is we're talking about space planning and processes. And once a few buildings and spaces have been selected to consider, you will want to start the space planning process well ahead of time before you intend to move in. Normally, once this is talking about getting new offices for your building, you want to get a new office space. Maybe your office space is either too big or too small. Normally, once that decision has been made from management, you are supposed to kickstart the process yourself so that you'll be able to manage it as it goes. Because if you don't do it on time, it will really affect you as a facility manager. One of the things you might need to do is you begin to interview several architects and space planners. There are architects that are good with space planning, which you're supposed to interview from time to time to ensure and know that, okay, these architects are able to meet up with your requirements as well. Then also select a professional that understands the business objectives in detail. Sometimes once you are doing that selection, you need to select a professional that understands the business in details. Also, a good space planner can quickly interpret how your organization operates. It's very important to know that. Make suggestions in improving efficiency and flow. This will translate into a design that balances the company's vision and space utilization. Also, department adjacent and future growth. It takes that into consideration as the architect. What do you need? First, think first about how your business will be using the space. Secondly, will each of your staff members need a dedicated workstation? That's a question that we really need to ask these days, especially as facility manager when we are doing our spaces. Can you utilize a more open floor plan or more of enclosed offices? Does your business have customers visiting often? If your business have customers visiting often, then you require a lot of meeting rooms. But if they don't, you do not require that. Some offices that you have, like, even if the staff strength is maybe like just 20, they'll have like almost 4 or 5 meeting rooms because they have a lot of visitors coming in. Their customers visit them a lot. So they have small meeting rooms to be able to attend to customers as they come. But for some offices, maybe in a week or in a month, they may not have visitors coming in. They are the ones going out. So you don't need so much meeting rooms. You just have maybe 1 or 2 meeting rooms, and so that the staff team will be able to meet from time to time, especially they are doing staff bonding and all that. Room for growth. Companies aim to grow, not to remain stagnant. As job increase, the need for business for new business. As jobs increase and new business develop, there will be need for more spaces to house employees in every department. Expansion options should be considered when negotiating your lease. It's very important for us. I've mentioned that to properly plan for growth, take into account your current headcount, compare it to your future growth projections, because you are supposed to get that from management, by analyzing and understanding what the maximum headcount may look like in over 3 years or 3 to 5 years period. You limit your forecast hiccups in the future regarding your company's occupancy situation. Plan for future of employees now, so that when your company does grow, you will already have a place to put them. Because normally in most offices, they don't actually look at that space when they are planning for the future. They just think about the staff and just think that when they come in, they'll look for space to squeeze them. But it is within your purview as a facility manager to actually ensure that you do that planning, and that's metrics for management. And from time to time, you need to submit that to management. There are risks to big planning. If you are unable to meet up with your growth goals, you may end up having too much office space to be used. That's why you need to be doing the exercise very often, so that you know how the growth pattern in the offices work. You may need to consider subleasing your office space. When you discover that the office, instead of growing, is shrinking, and you have so much space, you are really to advise management so that they'll be able to take a kind of pragmatic decision to sublease part of the office space, so that you can make some money from the space, instead of just having or reevaluate your space plan. You need to check that and be sure that there is a sublease provision in your lease agreement that addresses these potential issues. Those are issues that may come up normally. One of the ongoing debates for a long time is whether it is better to have an open plan or enclosed cubicles. That's an ongoing decision and discussion which has not come to a certain, but it depends on how your company works. You will know if people work better when they are in open spaces or when they are in enclosed cubicles. Some offices now, they do a bit of those. Which direction should you take? Should you consider open plan? That decision strongly depends on your industry. What makes your team perform better? Do you get a better result from your team collaborative virtual interaction? Do your employees perform better in a focused, productive, driven environment? Sometimes you may need to consider that. Then going remote, this is where we are now in the world with the growth of cloud computing, where most of the companies now, they have their servers on the cloud. They have their documents on the cloud. You don't actually need to go to the office to do your work. You can actually connect to your office servers from wherever you are in the world and do your work. And that's the beauty of having technology. Many businesses have begun to utilize remote working plans, which we know, to take their employees to give their employees a bit more freedom to work from home or anywhere away from the office. If your office has a remote working policy, consider the space utilization ratio to know how many staff will be available in the office in a particular day. It helps you to do your planning. Consider the percentage of time the employee spends in the office space so that you'll be able to understand what that happens. Normally, if you are doing that planning, I remember doing an office at a time where for each desk we did a calculation and the ratio came to like 4 persons to 1 desk. And that was the first. I was shocked where they were allocating 1 desk in the office to 4 persons. So that at any point in time, before you get into the office, you may need to, that's what we call a utilization system. We'll look at it very soon. A good idea may be included in an area where office, the floor plan is flexible and movable furniture. You can have places like breakout here. Special configuration rooms for specific use, such as a large lunch room, the break rooms, what we call breakout room, or private meeting areas. See the pictures, something like this, where you can just relax, make some calls, have informal meetings. Some offices are beginning to have this. The spaces are not formal office spaces, but are places that you can go in quickly and do a short meeting and also do work. Space allocation options. Space allocation options, we're talking about the hoteling system. Hoteling, a method of an office management in which workers dynamically schedule their use of such as desks, cubicles, and offices. An alternative approach to more traditional method of permanently assigning seats. The hoteling is reservation based on assigned seats. With hoteling, workers are not assigned to their own desks. Instead, they reserve a desk for their temporary use, just for days they are expected to be in the office. For this hoteling kind of office, you call into the office every week. On Monday, you call to tell them, oh, I need like 3 days in the office. They'll book you in. So when you come in, they'll give you that space for you to be able to work. But if you do not book in, if you go to the office, nobody will give you, you not have any space to be able to work. So you probably will have to work remotely. Benefits of the hoteling system: 1, saves costs on commercial real estate, creates opportunity for staff to mingle and collaborate more. And then the other one, we look at hot desk system. The hot desk system, an office organization system, which involves multiple workers using a single physical workstation and or surface during different times and period. The most telecoms in their offices, they have a lot of hot desks because you have people coming from different regions to come and work in some area. If your station is in Lagos, sometimes they will tell you to go to Abuja to go and do something. And when you get to the Abuja station, you have a desk there you can work. Those desks that they make provision for you there is called hot desks. The desk doesn't belong to you, but it's just that you can always go there and work. Hot desks are often found in workspaces with flexible schedule for staff. Sometimes where people work in shifts. Some people do morning shift and evening shift. It's not too common around here in Nigeria, except in factories where you go to work, you choose morning shift. Your morning shift may be from 6:30 to 3 o'clock, or 6:30 to like 2, or 6 o'clock to 2, or 6 o'clock to 1, and somebody takes over from that time, and where you just use the offices and to work. And so that those spaces are not exactly allocated to you. A primary motivation for hot desking is cost reduction through the space saving, and up to 30% in some cases can be saved from the commercial real estate. Valuable in sites where real estate prices are quite high, so that they can be able to accommodate more. Telecommuting, a work arrangement in which employees do not commute to a center place. They do not commute to so they don't gather in a central place. They can be wherever they are. Like we're having this meeting now, is a bit of telecommuting. Wherever in the different places that you are, you're connecting into the server, into the Zoom network, where we can now have this training. You can also use that for meetings, which people now still use, which offices use. Let's get a channel on Zoom and use that. Many telecommuters work from home, while others use mobile telecommunication and technology to work from a coffee shop or other locations. Telecommuting is used by office employees to
You're being too
work
fast.
more while on vacation. Sorry, I didn't get that.
So you're being too fast.
Oh, sorry. Thanks for bringing me. For telecommunity, well, I just wanted to rush so that I can take your questions anyway. Um, um, for telecommuting, it's such that you could actually be in several locations. Why I'm rushing this is because it's not new anymore. It's what we are using now. For this class, I'm in a separate location. You're in a separate location, but we are connected. Several people are in several locations, but they are connected to a central server. It's such that the communication, or rather internet and technology, has been able to help us. To the benefits of telecommuting allows a worker greater freedom regarding work hours and work location. Peradventure, if everybody was heading towards the center, now a lot of people will get there late. But some of us will be on the road and connect by our device from our devices and listen to this class and also be able to take notes. Some of us are even still in the office because we have some work to do. And you know that if you leave your office now, before you get to the center, it will be difficult. Community gives employee more flexibility to balance work and personal obligations. Where you are far away from the office, you can be able to balance work and also personal obligations. You can do some running around, especially when you're not in the office, but you can also still catch up with work when you can meet up via technology. Open plan spaces, that's open office spaces. For large offices, large companies, they normally use open office spaces. The use of large open spaces and minimize the use of small enclosed rooms, such as private offices. For open spaces, it helps. It manages the space. You can accommodate more persons. You can have as much as 10 people working in an open space than when you break it into small offices. And when you break this into small offices, you tend to spend more to run the office because each of those individual offices, you may need to provide air conditioning system for them to cool those offices. And by the time you calculate the cost of those air conditioning system, maybe in an office space where you just need like 4 standing units, if you have like 5 different, you have like 2 standing units, if you have like 5 different offices, you have 5 different split unit air conditioning system, and that will also impact on the electricity cost because you'll be consuming more energy running those systems. And even the lighting requirement for those spaces and other facilities, building up of those partition also is also quite expensive. Evaluation of open offices, neither open or nor closed plan offices are perfect for all situations or for all individuals. It depends on your industry and how your office works. The right balance is required. Any office design is likely to involve trade-offs of workers and some positive and negative, depending on how your offices work and how it's managed. Advantage of open plan. One, openness may improve communication and it helps collaboration and helps that to work and enhance the flow of information by and teamwork. The move of information between staff is not easier because you don't need to be going from one office to the other. Yes, your colleague can just be on the other side and you just send the information that they require to them. It increases collaboration results from an open plan workspace can lead to business innovation and advancement. Reduction of heat, stroke cooling, and electricity expenses. I explained that electricity expenses. I've explained that. Provision of greater flexibility to accommodating involving personal needs. Disadvantage of open offices: one, reduces concentration and productivity. And sometimes that when people are moving, people are getting distracted. Lack of privacy is another potential problem with open office spaces. Open plan layout also facilitates the spread of disease when there's a global pandemic or an epidemic. If somebody is coughing, everybody will just carry that cough because it becomes an issue now. open business output also may be reduced by the high rate of absenteeism because of sicknesses due to spread of sicknesses, rise of rise to legal or ethical issues stemming from compromising of confidential issues where you have a little bit of confidentiality in some clients, especially in legal offices, where some document needs to be kept in confidential. When you use open offices in such cases, it gives rise to such issues. So those are some of the disadvantages of open space. Breakout spaces. Breakout spaces are normally found in large office spaces where you can just sit out and do your work. Is an informal space that you can also work to relax. A current management fashion involves at least partly reinventing the office. In such environment, workers no longer have their own desks or workspaces, a quiet area away from the bustles of the workplace where informal meetings can be held. Any space open to staff or visitors that is separate from the usual work environment or working area helps to relieve stress, like the picture you see here on the side is an example of a breakout space where you could just sit out, have meetings, have coffee, and also relax. Just carry your laptop or your devices and do some work in that space. Benefits of a well-designed breakout area can serve many purposes. Provision of space for informal catch-ups and meetings. I mentioned that grab a bite. You can use that for a lunch area during lunch. Sometimes somewhere to greet visitors and clients. Importantly, an area where staff can relax away from the screen and promote employee well-being, improve posture, help in relaxing and reducing stress. In the general offices. This is the next point of the class is move management. I want us to probably take a break now before going to move management, so that we'll take a 5 minutes break and then we'll come back to continue. I hope that's fine with everybody.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Okay.
Okay. It's okay.
Okay, let's take this is 5:10. We'll be back 5:15. So just a 5 minutes break. Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, can we continue, or you want us to still give people that are not here?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So can continue. Okay, we look at management. For us that have at one time or the other changed apartment, you have moved from one apartment to the other. You understand this better. If you have ever done it in your life at least once, this is what we are talking about. But now we are looking at a more organized way. The role of the facility manager in move management. It is very important for you to know that as a facility manager, from time to time, you may be involved in this, maybe once in your career or twice, or maybe regularly in your career, depending on how the churn rate in your office is. In many organizations, office layouts are subject to frequent changes. We know that. And the process is referred to as churn. I've mentioned that. Many moves are normally planned by facility management department. You must know that once your office is relocating, you relocating from one space to the other, it falls under the purview of the facility manager to manage it. So this is the core facility management work. So you must be ready to manage it. And then there are processes that we use to do this. The facility manager plans for the following. One, the minimum amount of space to be provided per staff member, fire safety arrangements, lighting levels, ventilation and thermal control, temperature control, welfare arrangement, and toilet. We talked about this earlier on. Reasons for moving. There are some reasons why people move. This is why people move. One, expansion and growth. Two, cost reduction. Three, lease renewal or expiration. Four, reorganization or better facilities. Five, access to new markets. Six, improve your brand perspective. Seven, enhance employees' morale. That's most people don't consider that. Eight, upgrade technology. Nine, being closer to client or competitor, depending on what your SWOT analysis would have done for you in terms of when you have done your analysis in your planning or strategic planning to know how that works. Factors to consider when vetting office spaces. If you're about to move to a new office space as a facility manager and given the responsibility to vet the space, there are some things that you must know and there's some things that you must do. One is the power and cooling system of the office. How do you cool the office spaces? How do you manage power? It's very important for you to know system. For facility managers, depending on where your offices are, sometimes you look at the power system, the electricity system, the supply of electricity, how does it come? And there are some offices that, or facilities that you manage that you do not have so much of power. You have to depend on diesel or alternative power. Most of the times from experience, what we normally do is that we advise facility managers to look for the nearest NEPA office, go and see them. They don't have 5 heads. Discuss with them and tell them that you need power in your facility regularly so that you can help them. Sometimes they'll just say, okay, they will increase your bill, don't mind. It is cheaper for you to pay NEPA or PACL or Ikeja Electric or a code distribution than to spend money on diesel. It's far cheaper if you really understand what I'm saying. Plumbing system, you need to check the plumbing system to ensure that the building has a proper plumbing system. If you suspect any leakage in that building, I will always warn that you run away from such building, because plumbing issues are very, very delicate in the facility management. It's a battle that you keep fighting from the beginning almost to the end of life of that project or that office when you're there. So it's something that you need to really, really watch and manage. Sufficient physical space, something you need to look at. Waste disposal system. Waste disposal refers to both the physical waste and the other sewage that comes from the toilet, your physics. How people how the toilet is being disposed. You need to ensure that those things are properly done. Communication service provider, ensure that your network in those areas are good. If they are not good, you need to discuss with the communication providers to come closer to you. Wireless connectivity, this one is not any issue anymore. Those days used to be an issue, but now it's much better. Phone and computer cabling, this one is also not an issue anymore because we are closer now. Then IP-based security, internet-based security system, you need to look at that to ensure that the IP connection into the offices are good enough and you have proximity to manage that. Planning steps. Step one, define your reason for the move. When you want to do a relocation, once you want to do a move, you must understand, you take these steps. These are like an advice that you must mention. What is the reason for the move? If you do not know, go and ask management. Management will tell you whether it's because they want to just show off that the company has money now and they have so much money to spend, or it's because they want to get closer to the client or to the customers or something, which I discussed them earlier. Get a checklist, create a checklist for the move. Know your key dates. Key dates, we'll discuss about that then later on as we go in. We'll look at how to manage the key dates that you need to monitor. Set a budget for the move. How much will it cost for that move? Set a budget for it. Brief your property agent. Brief your property agent. Both agents, the one that the property where you are now, especially if it is not your own, and the property you are going to, if it's also still on the list, brief two of them so that they know exactly what's going on and know when the move will happen. Book your office movers company. There are companies that are in charge of moves. There are companies that are in charge of, that is their job. It is better for you as a facility manager to contact those companies to do the move for you. Don't be a superman to try to do it yourself. It is very difficult. Get these companies, they are more experienced. That is their job. Let them do it for you. You think it is more expensive, but it is far better, gives you less headache. Because if you do it yourself, you will not be able to manage the trouble that comes with it. You must use a move company. And there's something you must ensure that the good move company has is what we call goods in transit insurance. So if anything happens to your goods on the way, it is insured so that the insurance company will pay for it. Plan your new office design and space plan. Plan your IT relocation. Why IT is an important thing is because for every office, IT is very important. You must plan it so that you don't shut down the whole company and shut down the whole server. Finalize your office lease and do dilapidation or restatement. Your dilapidation or restatement. Restatement is when in normally lease agreement, sometimes the company will just tell you, okay, please, or the owner of the building will just tell you, please return my building the way you met it. So you have to redo it. Or they tell you to pay or do a dilapidation schedule of the things that are bad and just pay for it. So depending on what your agreement is. Now, managing office move challenges. Allow plenty of time before the move. Once you know the date, if you know that, oh, we are likely to relocate from this office in December, and this is September, please do not think that the date is far. Start immediately. Maybe you get information, start working on it immediately and start sensitizing the staff members so that they know. Manage and guide staff through the office move. If there's enough new office, organize tours, take them there. Play to everyone's strength. Be prepared for disruptions. It's very important. Preparing the new location. Create a new office plan and layout. That will be done by the space architect. This is where your move committee will be really helpful. You need to create what we call a move committee where you not work alone. It's always good to work alone and brief them as you go. It is always difficult to move into a new space. But when you have to figure out everywhere, everything, and everyone goes, it takes a lot of time. So you need the help. Make sure you know where every piece of the furniture will be placed and every employee will sit. It's very important when you are moving office. Know every detail. Go to every person's office. Know where that office is moving to. Know where you're going to place the furniture. If they're going to buy new furniture, good for you. If they're going to use the old furniture, good for you. You need to just label it and ensure you have management sign off. It is very important. The more details you plan, the better. The more detailed plan you have, the better for your office move guideline. Take time to plan effectively. One way to make the office move efficient is to minimize the amount of time the office move takes. As much as possible, if you're the day where you're doing the movement, you need to minimize the time it takes. The shorter the time, the better for you. So that's why I advise that you use a registered move company. It will help you a lot to take up the name of save time. Ensure that you familiarize yourself with the new location. For you, you need to familiarize with the new location. Understand exactly the dimension of each room. Understand the dimension of each room is very important. Record the difference in spaces and formats of the room. Make sure your old or new desks, chairs, files, cabinets, etc. will be accommodated, especially in executive offices. It's very important. Ensure everyone involved knows their new office dimension. You need to ensure that management, especially, they know the dimension of their new space in terms of square meters, so they're able to understand when they go there, they will not feel that the space is too small or probably somebody is cheating them. Create floor plans before they move. Make sure that every employee receives a copy of the floor plan. Communication during an office move with everyone. Communication is very important. You must ensure you communicate during the office move. Educate them if possible. I've mentioned organized tours. I've done a move to an office before where after we have communicated, we've done everything, we agreed that we're going to do the move on a particular weekend. The office had moved that weekend. Lo and behold, on Monday, people still drove to the old office. It's not their fault. It's because that is where some people have been working for 5-6 years. And by the time they moved, they even went on tour. So they were part of the move on a Saturday. And on Monday, they drove to the new office. So you need to always communicate so that people will get where each piece of the furniture needs to be in position. The easier and more understandable you make the office move to the mover, the quicker the move will be and more efficient it will be. The role of the supervisor during an office move: ensure staff follows the instruction during the office move. You're supposed to have supervisors. Create an office move guide. Make sure that every staff member receive one. Create a guide and give to every staff member. Employees' responsibility during the move: will be responsible for their own packing and setting items before the actual move. Normally, if you have a move company, they'll give you cartons for items. Ensure that everybody, don't be a good Samaritan, ensure that everybody packs their own property themselves from the office. You pack it into a carton, give them the carton, let them seal it themselves, and write their names on the cartons by themselves. It will save you a lot of trouble. Items during office move. Items inside the bookshelves, inside the bookcases, shelves, desks, walls, units, or cabinets should be packed securely into cartons. Filing cabinets may not necessarily be empty to just lock it up. They may just be locked up or secured fastened with heavy packing tapes. Preparing decks for an office move. Ensure that all the contents are packed into the cartons that you give to them. Items such as paper clips, pencils, and other loose materials should be placed in cartons. I mentioned that glass should be protected with papers and other packing materials so that you don't run into troubles. Moving electrical machines, disconnect and dismantle computer equipment as specified. Remove all fluids from photocopiers, that's the ink. Make sure items are stored and labeled correctly. It is very important for you to, like I said, you can't get it wrong when you employ the move companies. Office move checklist. We have developed checklists that you can use. For this checklist, we just run through the checklist when you are opportune to do that move. First of all, empty decks. This is just a checklist. Supply cabinet cleared, filing cabinet cleared, drawers cleared, wall item down. You can just go through this list. I'm sure you have this slide. Something that you can populate it as much as is comfortable for you, but it's just a checklist that you can use. And employing professional movers, they are conscious of just how to, like I've mentioned, you need to get logistic companies, the movers that do it, on how to set the logistics. They anticipate to deal with when they're easier to deal with once there are any other issues or challenges that you may face. The change in the changing the professional workplace. They have appropriate resources to help make the transfer secure, simple. They have the capability to prepare the different phases and transfer nicely ahead of time. They utilize color codes to know where precise pieces of furniture will be stored in the new offices. Like I mentioned, it's always good to get professional movers to do the jobs. Key consideration for the move process. There are considerations that have been given for move process. You break it into different aspects. Effectively, we always say that 6 weeks prior to the move, you should start the work. These are some of the plans of things that you can do to help you and help the move work very well. 6 weeks prior to the move, you can read it up, meet with the IT department, discuss with them and the components, assign move coordinators, schedule kickoff meetings, advise landlord of the original and destination facilities, review and clearly define responsibility, areas of responsibilities to everybody. 4 weeks to the move, finalize your move schedule, review schedule and responsibilities, create employee move packs, instructions, prepare agenda and content for employee move orientation meetings, identify items of value, high value, move with insurance carriers. I've mentioned that goods in transit insurance, that you must get it, especially when you're using professional movers or even if you're doing yourself. 3 weeks prior to the move, conduct employee movement orientation meeting, distribute employee package, move packages, schedule cartons, delivery, schedule necessary staff on site during the move, and i.e. phones and radio, depending on what work for you. And label, deliver. You need to also define lost and found area in the new location. You delegate an area in the new location where if things are missing, people will go and check, and where lost and found items will be placed and looked at. Also create emergency preparedness plan for elevator maintenance, building contact for IT personnel, supply, telecom suppliers, and it. The move week, you must also look at confirm all building reservations, confirm, coordinate, conduct supervisor orientation meetings week, and also complete for special care, work the space and check process, confirm schedules, of those who will be on site during the move, post-work plans, office layout diagrams, and individual impacts and cubicles and existing damage. It's very important to do that. And the move they go, assign your move coordinators to originate to that somebody will receive whatever goods that are coming. And when somebody signs off from your original allocation, somebody receives in the new site, be prepared to direct movers and items, complete final facility to make sure that items are not that are not being moved are seen, fine tune and clean up and rearrange at the end of the job. It's very important to note that you must create like it. It's very important to note that that's happening. And then also after the move, you need to manage inquiries from staff. You must be ready to answer questions from staff, because once you move, people will ask you a barrage of questions. So you must be ready to answer these questions. Make items of make list of items requiring attention. Survey for any potential property damage to the space or to your assets. Schedule follow-up crew for post-move activity. You must go back and check where you moved from to ensure that everything has been moved properly, to ensure that you do not forget anything. Normally, it is important that before you give your key of your old office or the old space, you are not forgetting anything there and anything of importance. And you take pictures to ensure that you know exactly where the property was when you were living, so that when there are any issues, you have those pictures. If possible, do a video for it so that you actually have that recorded, so that at any point in time you can call it and discuss with the client. Next slide. Oh, thank you. That's the last slide. Thank you very much for your time. So I'll take your questions now. If anybody has questions, let's take the questions quickly. So let me take your questions now. If you have questions, let me see your hands and we'll take it. Okay, I can see Francis. Francis, let me take your question.
Yeah, good afternoon. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, thank you for the lectures. I want to confirm if the 3 square meter space requirement is an international standard organization standard.
Yes, it is.
For open space, right?
Yes, for open space, yes.
And for the closed space is 12 square
yes,
meters.
For the closed space, it's about 12 square meters.
Okay. So again, I want you to give a professional advice. You're an architect, right?
Yes.
If I am building, okay, so a company gave me a job, for example, to build an office space for them, but they did not give me a design to show ventilation. I'm talking about ventilation. Is there any standard of measures to create ventilations, considering maybe?
Okay, I'll put it this way. The question you asked is actually vague, because normally when we're doing space planning, we actually we treat it per space and how the space is. The number of persons that normally will be in a space will determine the level of artificial ventilation you need to provide. Because this is do artificial ventilation, you use the air conditioning system. It will give you the tonnage of the air conditions that you use. The size, the size of the space, and the number of people that will be in that space will determine the tonnage of the air conditioning unit you use. Whether you use a 5 horsepower, you use 10 horsepower or thereabout. You can now decide to either have one or you spread it into different one. If the calculation is giving you a 10 horsepower, you can decide to buy a single 10 horsepower or you buy 5 horsepower. I don't know if you understand. So, but the space is by need basis that we require and plan towards it. It's not something that I can just say, okay, this is what happens. No. You must know that space and know the size of the space and the number of people that will be in that space.
Okay, all right. And then finally, please, this telecommuting, that is the remote, going remote in these days.
Yes.
Yeah. Can we also say their office space plan?
No, you know why I say telecommuting is a new style of offices. It's not exactly an office space plan because it is not physical. What it just does is that it helps to reduce the number. If you plan for in an office building, now you say, okay, this office we are 50 in number. Instead of now making provision for 50 people, you can decide, okay, I'll make provision for 20 persons so that the other 30 persons can always come at their own time. You know, you can now use this telecommuting to be having meetings. I know of somebody, there's one of my friends that is working now. For the past 6 months, the person has only gone to the office once. They've been working from home.
Okay.
So how are you going to rent a space that will be able to accommodate 50 people when for 6 months, the person comes to the office only once? I don't know if you understand. So that's useful.
I understand.
Yeah. So that's
okay. I just need to get that. Thank you very much, sir. That's my
all right, no problem. Yeah. Awe, I think you came second. Let me take your own.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, sir. You made mention of data trunkings. How do they?
I think that's sorry.
You made mention of data trunkings.
Okay, data trunkings.
Yes.
Okay, yes.
What is it and where is it applicable?
Okay, data trunking. There are, are you an electrician? Electrical engineer?
No, I'm not a mechanical engineer.
You're a mechanical engineer?
Yes.
Okay, great. If you go to a lot of these, I don't know if you have gone into big offices, you see that around the office space, around where you have the skirting, for this, just very close to the floor, you will see this very wide white item that is just done round. Those things are those yes, those are not trucking. It's into compartmentation. You have power, you have data, and you have voice cables running there, so that it's just done in the perimeter of the office space, so that anybody can connect. You can do all your connections on that stuff, so you don't need to be running trunking everywhere. It's just on the wall. It comes in 3 compartments: power, data, and voice. I don't know if you understand.
I've never seen it. The one I conversant with is this cable tray that is being placed at the exterior of the building.
No. Cable tray is normally opened.
Yes, that one is open.
And some of them are, some cable tray is open, some of them are encased, but it's a tray. You know it's a tray, but this one is not a tray. It's a trunk. It's white. It's normally white, or depend on the color that they. Sometimes it comes in black, but it's normally white or black. But some of them, sometimes you will see something where you can plug something. You can plug your computer. You can also connect your phones to it. You can connect your data, what do they call them? Your data card or whatever. You can just connect to. You can connect to your computer.
Okay. Then the second question is, since you've been discussing about this spacing of the thing, then like common areas now, you never made mention of maybe placing a TV there. Is it not required in an organization?
Okay, that is going into the criticality of the space itself. What we normally do is high levels. What we have discussed is high level space plan, how to just manage your space. It's not in terms of why that is not a major thing, is because it depends on your office. There's some offices that we want that they have music systems. They like music playing all through their office. Some offices like it quiet. Some don't. Some like a little bit of. They like paintings everywhere. Some do not like it. So you cannot make something that is not common to everybody a major issue. So that's why I didn't discuss that. Those are furnishing items or decorative items.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, the next person is Chimezie. Let's take you.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir, for the class. Please, my question is, when you talk about the emergency signage, how do you determine a suitable location for as muster point?
As muster point.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Normally, if there are people that they actually do the analysis, they look at the space and see the most muster points are normally placed at the entrance of the building, where it is where you have the easiest accessibility in and out of the building, so that you can take the head count. Muster point is like an assembly point where if there's fire or emergency, people go there, assemble, so you can do your head count. It must be somewhere that everybody knows. So it's normally in a place you see it. It's something that is very seen. So there's no special design per se. It's just the accessibility of the space that is just considered. The easy access to the place from either the emergency exit or from the entrance or the access into the building.
That's clear. And secondly, I have a question away from the class. Sir, please, what tribe are you? Your name sounds Igbo and sounds somehow Edo. I don't know.
Okay, I'm from Edo.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
All right, then. Let's take Emmanuel. I can see your hand. Emmanuel, please.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Yeah, good evening, class. My question is has to do with the legislation and standards. In terms of Nigeria, Lagos specifically, where can we, and if it does exist, can get this legislation and standards in terms of space planning?
Okay, for this country, we normally, these kind of things, we do international best practice. Nigeria has, Nigeria has, there's a code, we'll do that in one of the classes, we'll talk about that, let me not digress. Nigeria has a code, building code, which we normally follow, but the building code is not popular. You either use British standard for these things. But for facility management, it's majorly more of international best practice. So that's why when you are doing these trainings, especially if you do your FMP, you get some of these studies, you get some of these standards, national standards that you have to be conversant with. And those things will help you to know all these things, and it will be easy for you to now determine whatever thing that you require through facility or management of spaces. Look at the workspace management. It's something that is there that as you grow up in your FM career, it makes it a lot easier for you to know these things. But generally, it's just international best practice that is being used. But you must be part of the FM body. You don't just get it outside. You must be part of the FM body and you start getting it from the FM body.
Okay, so does that mean in the future class, like you spoke about, the building codes, are we going to be getting
yes,
it?
I'm not going to give you building code, though. Do you know how much is building code?
That's what I was asking. So that's why I'm asking it.
I will not give you. I will only tell you about it. You go and buy it yourself. Look at
okay. Okay, thank you. Then the other one has to do with the companies itself, because you spoke about getting a good moving company which has deposit insurance. So do you have any in Nigeria that you would recommend or you know about?
Okay, but this is not good. I normally should not do adverts. I've worked with a couple of you. I don't know why you're asking me this question. This kind of question you should ask me off the class. I shouldn't be doing free advert for these companies. But anyway, I've worked with two and they have been good. I've done prime movers and swift movers. Those are the two I've worked.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. There's also AGS too.
This is where I was avoiding all these advertisements. It's not supposed to be happening here. But anyway, they are just acts and people can help really, especially on the group. Yeah. Okay. Do I have any more questions? Any more questions? If there are no more questions. Yes, let me see who's
Yeah,
talking.
is there no assessment for this course?
There's assessment that should be part of the package they've given to you now. Except you have not paid.
Yes. No. I mean, the assignments, rather, but it's on slide 55.
No, just go to your assessment. Yes, there. Except you have not paid. If you have paid, they would have given you. So, it's there.
I have it. Thank you.
But anyway, I'm open to any questions, whether now or anytime in the future. I'm sure I should have another class with you guys on Saturday. So if you have any questions that come to your head, just write it down and we'll come out.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening.
My name is Jubre Moili.
Okay, guy, go ahead, Jimmy.
I wanted to ask with respect to space management.
Yes,
now, since the COVID period or the pandemic period,
yes, please.
Normally we have standard in recreational areas. Is the code or the standard about spacing, has it been changed or is it going to remain the same? We'll go back to it. Because space management in office now, people don't go to offices anymore. They hardly go, they visit. Now, open plan offices, as you said, the higher risk in open plan offices than enclosed offices. Are the standards going to change? Because now there is a pandemic and the major priority of the pandemic is social distancing.
Yes, that is being worked on presently. There will be definitely some change, but there's no new rule that has come out yet because the world is not out of the pandemic yet. It is until the world is out of the pandemic that you can begin to have new of these rules coming. Well, I want to advise you to go and get your vaccine shot so that you don't fall into the so by the time you get COVID, you can survive it. Please, for now, we are still looking at that. The standards are not out yet, so we are still working on it because nobody understands the way the virus is moving. So standards cannot come in until there is a stability to the management of COVID-19. That's when standards will. But I'm aware that some discussion is going on, especially on recreational areas and how to manage it. Even the Premier League that started now and Olympic, you could see that there are a lot of restrictions and management of how it's been done because it was a big issue. Even the Olympics was postponed from 2020 and done in 2021 because of the COVID issue. So it is yet to be finalized anyway. So it's just to wait, just to have a little bit of patience to see how the world generally adapts to the new COVID era. And then that will inform the new standards that will come out from it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, any more questions?
Hello, yeah.
Yes, please, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate your lecture. However, I want to, when you mention about Move company, I would like to.
Yes.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Hello?
Hello, Callistus.
Are you hearing me, sir?
Okay. No, I can't hear you.
Are you hearing me now, sir?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, sir. Okay, please. I wanted to know, have a contact, this Move company. I would like to, if you have a reliable one, I would like to get their contact. Secondly, this managing the space, is this something we can incorporate during development of that facility, that is construction of that facility? Is this something we can get the architect to do while designing the house? Is it something we can do?
Okay.
I want to find out.
Okay, yeah, part of the things that you should be able to do, that's why we're doing, that's why in this course, by the time we go, you will see the relevance of this course and the importance of having the facility manager as part of the building team. Architects that understand facility management are very few. I'm an architect and I'm into architecture. I'm still practicing architecture. Paul Ayubami is also an architect, but he's no longer practicing as I am practicing. He's fully into facility management. I have the experience. I've also worked in a facility management company. So normally for architects that have experience with facility, it takes them a longer time to design a building or an office because they will consider the whole thing before the design comes out. For those that do not understand, you want to push me to some other lectures that I'm supposed to take. Like normally, if you are looking at like an office space and you are looking at a skyscraper that is up to let's say 20 floors, it's on the 20th floor. It is very unwise for you to plan to use split unit air conditioner on the 20th floor. It doesn't make sense. It's cheaper, yes, but in terms of maintenance, it's more expensive to put a scaffold that will go from the ground floor to the 20th floor to maintain a split unit air conditioner is costing 200,000 naira. To erect that scaffold, the scaffold will almost cost you maybe 800,000 naira. So you can discover that it is difficult to maintain. So normally at such levels, you don't use split units. You use chiller systems or you use VRF or VRV for the cooling system. That's why those technology is there, because it's easier for you. You now have a chiller room or equipment room where all the equipment will be there, and you just go in there and manage and service or maintain those equipment instead of doing like having to be managing split units. You know, those are some of the considerations that a facility manager would give when an architect designs a building and is not making provision for those things. Normally, if you are going that high, sometimes you see some buildings, you have a little bit of jut out at the end. We call it overhang, where you can put your condensers for the air conditioning system. So people don't know why you design those things. It's because you can place air conditioning system and you put a point where you can have access to go and service. So people don't know why you do it. But for an architect that understands facility and understands maintenance, it's easier to him to make those provisions. Even the provision, the management of plumbing pipes, stacking of pipes for toilets. The way a designer, an architect that is experienced in facility manager will design it will be in such a manner that you can access it easily from inside the building, not from outside. You design it so that you have an access from inside the building, so it will be easy for the plumber to come in, do his work, and go away in case there's any failure. But for people that don't understand, they will go and bury these pipes into the wall. By the time the thing is leaking or is blocked, you'll be breaking wall and cracking wall up and down. But meanwhile, if you are designing very well, you don't need to crack any wall. You just go to the duct, open the duct cover, access the pipe, do what you have to do, close it back, and you leave. You don't need to damage anything. So it's difficult to get people like that, but there are few. And for you as a facility manager, in such a manner, when you have the architect that you are using for a particular design, you will be the one to now begin to tell them. You ask these questions: how do you do this? How do you do this? So they can now do it as a consideration in the design. I hope I've answered the question.
Yes, sir. My last question is this breakout rooms, as you may call them.
Yes.
You know, it sounds interesting, and for me, so I'm trying to see how do you incorporate.
I can't hear you again, Okalisto. I can't hear you. Please take your question.
I said, concerning this breakout rooms, my concern is that how do you create that space where it does not exist, and can you combine it with the restaurant or the catering side? Can it really still serve that purpose?
Okay, no, you cannot combine the two of them. There are two different spaces. Breakout rooms are, you can actually create it in your office space, but you just need to be intentional in creating it. You need to plan for it and say this is what you want, and then you'll be able to create it. If you do not plan for it, it will be difficult for you to create it. Then two, you cannot combine, it cannot be the same thing as your canteen or your restaurant, because the breakout rooms is also like a meeting room, but it's just that it's arranged in an informal way where you can just go sit down and gist or just for relaxation anyway. You can actually take snack there, but you cannot eat full food there. You know, it's just for something that it's just like a relaxation place anyway. It's not anything very foodie. So that you can also have informal meetings there. You can have a visitor. If you have your friend coming to see you and you don't want to take your friends to your desk, you just take him to your breakout room and you sit down there, you just gist, talk, and catch up, and the person goes and you go back to your work. Something like that. So it's something you can plan for.
Is it something that you call like a pause area? Susan?
You say what?
Is it what you call a pause area?
No, it's called a breakout room. It's international standard called breakout room, not a pass area.
Pause area.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's not a pass area. It's called breakout room.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. When you just made mention of now that in a breakout room, eating is not formal there. There are some breakout rooms like you have a little dining and like a tea table, a tea maker table also. Is it those people that are placed
You can have a
down?
tea point. You can have a tea point. Tea point is for snacking, not for eating. In office, there's what we call tea point. You go and make coffee and take tea. It's not considered as eating. It's snacking stuff. It's not food.
Then my main question is, in these days, maybe let me say in Nigeria generally, architects, most of the architects are so manipulative, like something that is not achievable, but they make sure they achieve it on paper. And when the construction starts, that is when the architect and the civil engineer or the builder start quarreling, start the argument. But what I'm trying to say is, let's say for example now,
that means the architect you are discussing with is just a young school leaver. If you pay an experienced architect, you will never have that issue.
So I don't want to debate this with you, but I've seen a lot of architect drawing something that's not really. Let me give an instance.
I understand what you're saying because I'm an architect also.
Okay.
But the truth of the matter is that it depends on the client you're working with. Like for me, normally when I deal with my client, I make them realize that whatever their fantasies are, they are not. If they are ready to pay for it, yes, they can pay. But the truth is that a lot of it is not realistic. You know, they just give you very fanciful 3Ds, and then you see it, you're happy. By the time it comes to the execution now, they will not tell you that one are 3D, this one are reality, you know. But that's not the way it should be. Your 3D images is supposed to be able to, you are supposed to produce it. It's because of the craftsmanship here in Nigeria. That's why that you are having that issue. We don't have very good craftsmen.
Yes, because I had an experience some times ago whereby we have an office space, an office compartment of 3. So we don't want to put it into just want to make everything in one office, and we want like about 12 people to occupy the space conveniently. So we invited the architect. The architect measured and said it's achievable. That I want to buy this also kind of table. And more so, before we started, we went to the market and see if we can get that side of table. And there is we can't find. So definitely, I think we started that project. That means when we created this table, when we did everything, and we'll find that table size that you made mention of. That was just an example. But for people that
I understand that kind of
yes,
interior planning and space management. Normally, every space that I work with, I always get the exact table that you can get in the market. There are standard sizes that you can get in the market. That is what I use to put the space. If I give you a furniture on your space, there is no way you will not get. If you get the exact size, you fit into that space, because that's what I do. Because I understand this thing you're saying. A lot of people that don't understand, they just go, we have furniture templates in AutoCAD and in Revit. You just go and pick one furniture and put there without understanding or knowing the size of those furniture. But so when you see it on plan, I like it, I want to do it. But when it comes to reality, it won't work. I don't know if you understand, but normally, as for somebody that understands space planning, the person will not do that. We get the exact size of furniture and put it there. Once it does that, you won't have that issue.
Exactly.
Okay, I ask these questions. I ask personal questions.
So my main question is people just venture into facility management and they have no knowledge of civil engineering, architecture, even and building stuff. Those of us coming from mechanical engineering, we actually know few about it because it's not that peculiar with mechanical engineering. But I'm just speaking like people coming from like accounting, education, and all other courses not related to environmental and engineering. Is there any like a preparative course, just a simple course that can just put them through all those the terms, how to read drawings and other things that when the architect is discussing or when they are in the meeting discussing with the architect on their space management and other facility related stuffs, they won't be like a novice. Just to open, just to expose them to like a little bit of architecture and a little bit of civil engineering. Is there any other is there anyone you can recommend either online or on class? I think in class.
You are very funny. You are trying to compare somebody that did architecture for 6 years and somebody that did accounting for 4 years. You want the accountant to know what the architect knows for 6 years. It's not possible anyway. But what facility management does is that it gives you the basic knowledge. Part of the things I'll teach you in probably this master camp that we're doing is we're going to do building fabric and regulatory requirements. We'll do some things that will talk about the building, the different elements of the building. You will know them. But the truth is that for a facility manager, there's a saying that is normally said, you are the jack of all trades, master of all. You are supposed to be able to know exactly what needs to be done. But it's not that you are going to be the one to do it yourself. You just get the experts to come in and then solve the problem. But it's just for you as a fan. You have the general knowledge of the building and all that. You may not exactly be very good in reading a plan at the beginning, but if you start your facility management journey, let's say year 1, by the time you are getting to year 3, you should be able to read a plan. Because you start working with it. It's just it's not something that but you'll be as good as an architect or a civil engineer, but you have the basic knowledge of what everything means. So that's what happens because even going through this course, by the time you end this course, you will go, by the time you are done with this masterclass, you will discover that even if you are an accountant, by the time the course is ending, you won't touch it or won't teach you how to read plan. But by the time the course is ending, if you take a plan, you know what you are saying. You'll be shocked. It will be like a film trick. I'm telling you. You will, by the time we finish this program, you'll be shocked that at that time, by the time you take a building plan, if you look at it, you'll be shocked that you are not able to read the plan because it is part of the training that you get.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Okay, if there's no other question, I'll say with these few points of mine, I hope I've been able to convince you today and not to confuse you.
You have tried very well.
I'm sure we'll have another class on Saturday. I don't know, but I'll get the schedule. But I think it's on Saturday anyway. That will be looking at either project management or building fabric or something. But I know I'm scheduled to be on class this Saturday. So let's see how that goes. We'll see on Saturday again. Right. Thank you for your time. God bless you. Amen. And do enjoy your evening.
Amen. And you too.
Thank you so
much.
Amen. And you too.
Thank you so
much.
Good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.